question predictions for the AQA A Level Philosophy exam paper 2, the second exam 2024. These emphatically are guesses, not predictions. Some people are getting confused and thinking that they are fail-safe predictions despite my warnings. Maybe they just look at the grid and they don't listen. So I think to get the most out of this, you need to listen to the commentary and not just look at the grid and read my guesses, because I will say a bit more than's in the boxes, although I try not to go on too long. So don't base your entire revision, don't gamble your whole A-level and what possible future universe you end up in just on these guesses. They are guesses. This is a game. I am doing this to try and level the playing field for all those students whose teachers maybe aren't able to do this or don't think to do this. And yeah, that's why I'm, in my mind, what I'm doing anyway. Right, let's get on with it. Metaphysics of God. This is the paper I feel most confident about, or the section of the paper I feel most confident about, it being my specialism, and actually the only part of philosophy A-level that I've studied beyond A-level myself in a formal way, but don't tell anyone that. So I think, what do I think? Let's talk about 25 markers. Religious language is the obvious choice. Maybe they'll be mean or surprising and not give religious language, but hasn't come up since the specimen, which some people aren't even aware of. So if we were doing sensible pattern prediction, it's the only thing that hasn't come up in a proper exam paper yet. So religious language, 25 marker, is religious language meaningful? That's the obvious choice. Doesn't mean it's going to be that though. I reckon it basically gets less and less likely the further left you go along this row. More likely the further left you go along this row, and less likely you go this way if you go this way, because they're not going to repeat cosmological. Then they've never repeated last year's 25 marker again, which means it's very likely cosmological will come up somewhere in a shorter question, especially lots of the cosmological arguments haven't been asked about yet in a proper exam. Could be problem of evil, that would be very evil. Less likely, not impossible. Ontological arguments, maybe. We're getting more and more likely the further we go this way. Maybe concept of God again, or that was a bit of a curveball when that came up. I got caught out by that one. So yeah, design or language are my top picks. Then short answer questions. Well, this will make more sense with reference to the next slide, but basically here are the things that they haven't asked about yet, sort of randomly shoved into this column. They're definitional questions usually, 3 markers. What haven't they asked about the definition of yet? On the next slide, you'll see, I believe it's omnipotence and supreme goodness / omnibenevolence have not been asked yet. If language doesn't appear here, language is often a nice one for 3 markers, but who knows? Yeah, something short and definitional. 5 markers. Well, let's just talk about all of these. So lots of cosmological arguments have never been asked before. They've never asked about Kalam. That just seems such an obvious argument to ask about the Kalam argument. I reckon it's going to be this year. But it could be second way. They've asked about first and third way, never the second way, so why not? Every aspect of religious language has come up. So here's another one. If religious language isn't a 25 marker, why not Basil Mitchell, Oxford's own Noloth Professor Basil Mitchell on religious language? I'm a big fan of Mitchell and what he has to say there. So yeah, if it's not the essay, that could come up. Hicks Theodicy, I've got a sense, I've got a feeling, but it could be completely wrong. But I just wonder if this is the year they finally ask about Hick, because again, it's such an obvious thing to come up, but it's never come up before. Descartes cosmological as well is tough. That would make sense for a tough 12 marker. But also there's loads of criticisms of arguments that they've never asked about. So they might do a short argument, like maybe a cosmological argument, and then a criticism of it for a 12 marker. But there's tons of those still left to ask about. So that could a criticism of an argument for the existence of God could easily appear. But in terms of actual arguments, the only ones they haven't asked questions about for are, well, just lots of cosmological arguments. Makes sense why it didn't happen last year, because it was the 25 marker last year. I think that's everything intelligent I have to say. But yeah, if you wrote them out as a list, these are the areas of metaphysics of God that have not come up yet in shorter exam questions, and these the AQA examiners seem to not repeat questions about for AO1 shorter questions as far as I am aware and have been tracking. So I've already mentioned these attributes of God haven't come up before. Yes, and it's all criticism. The one they've asked about is the fallacy of composition criticism of cosmological arguments. So maybe it would be, you know, if the design argument doesn't come up as a 25 marker, why not Swinburne's a repeat of asking about Swinburne's temporal design argument, which I think has only been a 12 marker in the specimen before, and then a criticism of design arguments. That would be quite nice. So yeah, know about all the criticisms. You should know them all anyway. Revise everything. Don't just revise this. This is just tips, last minute tips, helpers, pointers to try and nudge you in the right direction. Yeah, and there they are, the cosmological arguments, and Mitchell on religious language, and Hicks on making defense. Maybe this slide is redundant, but there they are listed in that way. By the way, now since we're here, I do have a video just to remind you, a quick revision blitz, well, quick 45 minutes or something, revision blitz video just on Metaphysics of God. So that is out there to find on the channels. Some people don't seem to be aware of that. So use that for your last minute revision if it's helpful as well. Hope it's helpful. And then we come to Metaphysics of Mind. Now, my Metaphysics of Mind guesses come with a huge caveat, warning label, because I have never actually taught Metaphysics of Mind and not taught it this year. Taught by another teacher in my my base school, and so I don't really know what I'm talking about here, but I was asked to do this by another teacher, so I'm sharing it here. From looking at the spec for Metaphysics of Mind, here are my best guesses: essay, physicalism, or maybe dualism again. There's only so many things you can ask about in any of the sections, but we seem to have exhausted them largely with Metaphysics of Mind. But maybe why not interactionist dualism? It's never been phrased in that way. Or epiphenomenalism. They relate to things which have been asked about before, but they've not been phrased in that way. So is that helpful? Who knows? I hope it's helpful to some degree. And then what about shorter questions? Intentionality of mental state seems quite a nice 3-mark, one that hasn't come up before to me. They've not asked about soft behaviorism, although depending on essay, that could not come up twice, depending on what the essay is. Issues facing interactionist dualism, if it's not the essay again. Dualist arguments applied to mind, brain type identity theory. Yeah, I'm kind of guessing here, but this is where maybe the second slide for this section is more helpful, because there you go. Here are the areas of Metaphysics of Mind that do not seem to me, not having taught it, to have come up yet in any AO1 shorter exam questions. All of these, which you can read yourself, and I've put stars next to my best guesses, but it's anyone's guess really. So yeah, take what you will. Good luck out there, have fun, and do some good philosophizing, and I hope it all works out well for you. Take care.